Hello and welcome to Pueblo Passion. I am Ben Cason here with Shanna Farmer and Matt Smith. Shanna Farmer, the president and CEO of United Way here in Pueblo. And Matt is, the owner of a whole bunch of stuff, but he's also on the United Way board. That's why he's here as well. How are y'all doing today?
Great. Thanks, Ben. And it's so exciting to be here with the one and only Matt Smith.
So excited to be here with the one and only Shanna Farmer here. She came to our meeting and everything today. It's just, today's going to be a good day. It's Christmas Eve. Yes.
Yeah, today's 23.
Like that.
Eve. Yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much. And obviously, you guys are both the one and only. I'm excited to be in here with both of you, doing so much for the community. So let's just kind of break into what United Way is and what it's doing here in Pueblo. So if you haven't heard of United Way, Shanna, what would you tell me is United Way and what are you guys doing?
So the mission of United Way of Pueblo County is to develop donor resources to enhance the quality of life for the people of Pueblo. So that's a big job, as you can imagine. And so we are so proud to fund a number of nonprofits in our community. And then we also have two of our own in-house programs geared towards youth and also economic stability.
Love it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, sorry, I was waiting to see if Matt wanted to jump in. Yeah. So you guys, obviously 2020's been a tough year for a lot of people. And so a lot's changed in 2020. I know that you took the job, what would that have been, last year as the president and CEO? So a lot's changed since you jumped in to now. Can you tell me what's United Way up to now during, COVID times? How has that changed what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so this month marks month 14 on the job. And as you can imagine, things have changed dramatically since a year ago now. And so throughout 2020, we have worked really hard to provide supports through the pandemic. And so right after things started to really get tough in March, we launched our Emergency Response and Recovery Fund. And within 2 months, we raised about $240,000 that we were able to allocate back into the community. And so we funded through that so far 30 different nonprofit organizations who were being impacted by COVID. And then, throughout the rest of the year, we have done our best to serve as that pillar of support in the community because we know that's needed now more than ever before. And so we try really hard to be responsive as things arise and find ways that we can, be the best partners in our community.
Sure. Matt, what do you think about that? How have you seen United Way respond to the COVID issues here in Pueblo lately?
Yeah, so much hats off to Shanna. I do want to just a moment of bragging because 14 months ago, Shanna stepped up to the plate for United Way in a position that had Andrea Aragon, who was a loved, amazing CEO prior to you that stepped out. So she had these shoes, but Shanna has not only just grabbed that, but she is knocking it out of the park. And then in the middle of this, when she's trying to figure out what's going on, COVID hits. So I can't brag enough about what she's been able to do without even skipping a beat and continuing to grow all of this nonprofits with the mentor program to right now. You just did $200,000 back into the community for rent relief and over and over and over again. But I mean, United Way is Pueblo. Pueblo Passion that we're talking about today, I think of United Way because if they don't do it right now and there's a need, they pivot. They figure out how to fix that. So they're not in a box, They're here for Pueblo. They're here to help Pueblo in every way they can and hold that accountability. So I can't brag enough about you and what you're doing for this community. I can't brag enough about United Way and what it does for this community. If you love Pueblo, you love United Way because they just go hand in hand and they just work together so much. So I'm honored to be on the board. I'm honored to be with her. But and during these crazy times, I mean, we were just talking about it before this podcast, is they just put out $200,000 to local communities or to help with rents.
Yeah, so the funding came through the CARES Act via the city of Pueblo, and it was $200,000 for rent, mortgage, and utility assistance, which we know, folks are really in need of right now. And I think, especially with the housing crisis that Pueblo is seeing, keeping people in their homes is critical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Matt, if I can just, thank you. That was an incredible brag, but I have to brag too. Joining United Way, I joined an incredible team, and not just the team that exists now, but the long history of the organization. And a huge shout out to Andrea Aragon. She did an incredible job.
Yes. One of my heroes.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
17 years of leadership. And as I said, when I first took the job, there was no way that I could say I'm going to try to fill her shoes. There was no way possible. So as I said, I was going to bring a different pair of shoes, my own pair. And it's been an interesting journey, but also the board that we have, people like Matt Smith, I really do think of him as Mr. Pueblo, Mr. United Way. Just the energy, the love, the passion that our board members, our staff, our volunteers have, that is the heart of United Way.
Yeah, and Shanna, you have a lot of, passion for the Pueblo community. You've been in Pueblo for, how long have you been in Pueblo for?
So I was born and raised in Pueblo.
Okay, so there you go, all the way. So let me ask you, what do you think is special about Pueblo?
It's the people. The people here make this community. There is so much pride and just a sense of family in this community. We're not a small town, but it still has that feel. And it's just one of those you're going to have to cut that out, Ben. I'm sorry. And, it's just one of those communities that is just such a great place to be part of. And so it's the people. And, as someone who grew up here, I went to college here, I did, my master's elsewhere, but I was still working and living here. And it's a community that I wanted to stay in. And so I made the intentional decision. And I think, those of us here at the table have done the same thing. We 100%. Love Pueblo and we want to be here and we want to make it better.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's well said. Everything about that, I can say the same thing. I mean, I'm such a Pueblo passionate person, and this, this Wake Up, as Ben can talk on too, is that was part of our movement. Like, it was to really highlight how amazing this community is, and tell that story that is not being told otherwise. And I think that's been my favorite part of Wake Up and this movement and this business is we're telling so many generational stories and family stories, and right now in these tough times with the restaurant stories, and we're doing so many different things, but Pueblo has just come together and they are all putting their hand up in the air and like, how do I help? The Business Economic Recovery Team from Stephen Trujillo was one of the first in the country because they just saw a need and they were like, oh, we need to get together before this gets a problem. And they have tried to solve the problems before they're happening. But the hands that go up on a daily basis to say, where do I go? How do I help? It's just such a beautiful thing. If you look on social media, now we're in this every day, but people are always just sharing like what's going on and support Pueblo, support local. There's this, there's that. And it's a place I'm proud to raise my kids, and I will raise my kids for the rest of my life for sure. This is very Pueblo.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I felt so good about jumping into Wake Up Pueblo, because I really, really love the mission. Just like, Pueblo is just such an intersected community. I mean, I hear a lot like Pueblo is like a small town mentality within, Pueblo. And so you always, you go to the grocery store, you see someone I think Pueblo itself just is special in that way, that those connections, that those people care about people here in Pueblo. And I think that's, Pueblo gets a bad rap in a lot of places. A lot of people don't like Pueblo, but, and I was one of those people. I used to live in Rye, which is in Pueblo County, and I still had that same perspective of, Pueblo. I came up here for college, and I was like, this isn't the place you told me about. This isn't as bad as you said it was. So, I think that Wake Up and obviously United Way are doing, a lot of things to try and help that. And, I think it's just really noble, and I love that. Yeah.
That's so great. And especially, from someone who had that different perspective and now, you embrace it. And I get so frustrated when people are hard on Pueblo because we are such a great community. And I'm really excited that we have someone like Wake Up Pueblo and the amazing team here to tell our story.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you and I have my best friend on the planet, Chris Turner, a mutual friend. I mean, and that his story was the same. He came from New Mexico. He came here because CSU Pueblo actually accepted him. And he was like, oh, somebody's going to give me it because he wasn't really good in high school. And then he came here with the thought, well, I'm just going to get a quick degree and then I'm going to move on. And then just got into this community and was like, I'm not leaving, And there's so many people that tell that same story. So, that's the goal. That's the mission here, is to get rid of that stigma and tell that story so many times that when you think of Pueblo, you think of all the amazing things that we're doing, and it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
Yes.
So, Shanna, what would you say is your and potentially United Way's vision for Pueblo in the coming years? What would you see improvements in?
Well, like we've discussed, there's so much just collective goodness going on. But I think certainly as we get out of the pandemic, and I think the effects are going to be very long lasting. And so I think that's going to be a challenge as we navigate some of that. We work directly with a lot of nonprofits in our community. and just hearing about their struggles and what they're seeing from their clients and families and individuals, it's one of those things that I don't know that all the money in the world is going to fix everything, but certainly that's a big part of what we do is fundraising so we can support those nonprofits. And that's going to be so critical, I think, to helping our community recover from what we've encountered this last year.
Can I ask a question? From where you guys are standing, what do you think is going to be a new need that we didn't even really have before, and stuff that maybe things are fixing themselves on some, but things you're worried 2021 is going to be a lot more of a need. Is there an area of that?
The need that keeps kind of rising to the top is housing. We've had a real challenge here in the community for some time around affordable housing. And I think we've seen a huge boom in housing prices, which is really great for many, but for our, lower income, middle income families. And I will say we are seeing through our partner agencies and hearing that people who are never needing help are needing help now. And so, so many families are not feeling secure, and, they're definitely having trouble meeting their basic needs. So I think in 2021, something that, and I don't think it's just unique to Pueblo by any means, but it's the housing issue. Gotcha. That there's just not enough available, affordable housing.
And if you think of the I-25 corridor, we're definitely the most affordable right now, but that's changing. I mean, little by little, the prices are going up like a lot. So
absolutely.
But COVID has changed the game, so I appreciate that. It is a different game in every industry right now than it was. I'm in the gym and mattresses and here, and it's just everything's being forced to pivot. It's just how do we pivot? How do we continue to help every need that's out there? So that's a good one though. Housing.
Absolutely. And how do we take the challenges and hopefully turn them into some opportunities? How do we utilize what we've learned in the last year to make a positive change? But it's hard. Yeah, beautiful. And just so many are struggling. And I don't think we're going to see, that changed right away. I think it's going to be, a tough time in 2021 for many families, but hopefully, things are going to, as things reopen up and people are able to get back to work fully, that will help a lot.
Yeah, makes sense. So Shanna, can you kind of maybe shout out some of the nonprofits you guys work with that you find are, doing great things here in Pueblo?
Yeah, so I definitely want to give a shout out to Pueblo Cooperative Care Center. The numbers that they have seen in terms of just food assistance requests and needs, it has increased. I believe the last number I heard was over 130%.
Whoa.
And they have really stepped up. And then we have organizations, Catholic Charities here. They have been doing weekly food distributions. That's something that we've seen a huge increase need for, is just food. And, that's just something that nobody should have to go hungry. No one should have to worry about how they're going to feed their kids. And so we're really lucky that organizations like that have stepped up to fill that need. We have organizations like the Pueblo Rescue Mission who have, their services are in such demand right now, going back to the housing issues. We have our child care centers. We fund Southside Children's Center, Eastside Child Care Center, and they have stayed open for the most part through the pandemic because, as we know, our essential workers with kids, they still have to, have a safe place for their kids to go. And so those organizations have done a wonderful job. And then organizations that, we wish didn't have to exist, but thank goodness they do. The Pueblo Child Advocacy Center, CASA of Pueblo, these are such critical organizations, YWCA. And, certainly, for many of us who have safe homes that we can be in, stay at home looks very different than for families and children who are experiencing, just horrible, abuse, neglect, things like that. So thank goodness that we do have these supports in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shanna, I know United Way and you as well are very passionate about mentorship for youth. And I know that's something that you guys have done a lot with. You connect a lot of mentors to students here in Pueblo. That's elementary, middle, and high school. You guys do that, right?
So right now we have our middle school mentoring program.
Yep.
And so 6th through 8th grade is our focus. However, our coordinator for the program is also the coordinator for the Pueblo Mentoring Collaborative.
Oh, yeah.
Which does cover the wider range of, all ages. And in Pueblo, we have a lot going on with mentoring. And that's really exciting and so important right now because these kids have been very isolated in this last year. And so having a mentor in their lives can make all the difference in the world. And so we've certainly had to pivot our program.
Yeah.
And, normally we are a school-based program where our mentors would go in and meet with their kids. And of course, when the schools had to close and with all the COVID restrictions, we've had to look at how can we continue those important connections in a virtual way. And it's not the same, but it certainly is an important piece. And so we've put into practice some different ways that they can communicate, virtually with Zoom or text or email. Some of them have opted to do letter writing, which is really cool. And our mentoring program coordinator, Tanya Semental, has just done a phenomenal job of working through all of these challenges. And Matt is one of our incredible longstanding mentors. And any student that's paired with Matt is very lucky.
I appreciate that. No, United Way mentoring, I could talk a lot about that, but I will say it's definitely changed my life, I think, more than any kid that I've ever mentored. But it is such a need in this community. And I can't imagine how you guys are doing it now. I haven't done it through this pandemic, but there's so many kids that we take for granted just somebody that listens to them, that somebody that just is an ear if you need to talk about something or throw a football for the first time. There's this, as I've been a part of this, it has opened my eyes to just that need. And I remember giving a speech even for United Way, and I talked about we went to the Riverwalk for a field trip, and 85% of the kids on that bus had never been to the Riverwalk. It is free. It is in our community. And it is just crazy to me that almost 90%, it was like 80 something, it was a high in 80s, had never even been to the Pueblo Riverwalk. And it's like the little things that we take for granted. And as I'm a mentor, I definitely recommend anybody listening to this that thinks about being a mentor, there's also some kind of this pressure of I don't know if I can make a difference. And if you just sit in this room and you look a kid in the eye and you say, how's your day going? They don't normally have that. A lot of these kids don't even get that at home. So yeah, I could talk about a lot of different things that I've learned from the United Way, but I can't tell you what this is doing for the future of Pueblo. This is stuff that you'll never even see what you're doing. This is a life-changing event for so many kids. And, the first kid I remember was terrified to even talk about grades, and I'd have to pull it out of him. And by 3 years later, the kid was just running to me like, Matt, I got a C, just so proud of himself to just brag about, and somebody that was in the shell that it wasn't rocket science. You just hang out, you just talk to these guys, and it's a huge need. And thank you for all you do for that. And you're right, Tanya is amazing at what she does. We're lucky to have her and leading this community too. But if you're listening and you think about becoming a mentor, this community definitely needs them. It's changing the direction of our future kids for sure.
Absolutely, Matt.
Yeah. How have you guys had to pivot this year? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we were operational until about March.
Gotcha.
Operational in the traditional sense.
Sure.
And so certainly when, the schools closed in March, we really had to take a step back and say, okay, how can we pivot? How can we make sure that we are able to let these kids connect with their mentors, but in a very safe way? Certainly we want to keep the mentor safe, the mentees safe. And so how can we move into some virtual opportunities? And so Tanya has been working very hard to research and learn best practices of virtual mentoring. She's worked closely with Mentor Colorado. And so identifying ways to have those opportunities, whether it's text or Zoom or just traditional letter writing. I've seen a couple of the letters that were, going back and forth. And I think that's a lost art for a lot of youth today. And so that's kind of a cool opportunity for them to connect. And then making sure that there are, checks and balances in place. So we ensure that it's a high quality program. And again, I just can't say enough about the work Tanya's done to make sure that happens. And certainly our numbers are lower than they were pre-pandemic, just because it's a shift. It's a shift in engaging these students in a virtual way. And, our mentors have done an incredible job of shifting as well. And so, ensuring that there's that connection, like Matt said, that can make all the difference in the world for these kids.
Yeah. So if I'm listening to this and I think I want to help with the mentorship thing, how would I connect?
Yeah, so go to our website, pueblounitedway.org, and there's lots of information about becoming a mentor. And there's an application that you can fill out right online, and then that'll go to our mentoring coordinator.
Gotcha. And then you guys have a lot of other volunteer opportunities that come up too as well for other things, right? Can you talk me through what some of those are?
Yeah. So our other program that we're very, very proud of is our Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, the VITA program. And that program serves about 1,400 to 1,500 households a year. And so those tax returns, so that they help prepare tax returns every year. And this is so important because a lot of these folks really need to make sure they get their returns. We're talking about households making less than, $55,000 a year. And so they need the funds, but also it goes back into our local economy. And the tax season before the pandemic, $1.9 million came back into the community. And that's incredible when you think about the dollars that are helping to build our economy. So it's a great program, and we have incredible volunteers because I always joke with Judith Boudreau, she's our coordinator. I said, how do you get volunteers who want to spend their time doing taxes? That takes a really special volunteer.
For free.
For free, yes. And, she has an amazing group of 20-some volunteers that do this, and they come back year after year, and they have to get trained, and then they spend a whole lot of time during tax season preparing these returns. So it's a wonderful program, and we are having to pivot a little bit in this next year, but we are still going to have the program fully operational. It'll just be COVID style. So drop off, appointment only, which is different than we've done in years past, but we are really happy that we can still offer this program in the same way with a few changes.
So this podcast will probably be going out after Christmas, but can you tell me kind of what's United Way up to around Christmas time this year?
Yeah. So, we've been, very busy with, like Matt mentioned, some of the emergency assistance that came down for the CARES grant. Originally, we had a deadline of December 30th to make sure it got spent. And it was just approved, I think it was yesterday, that we have an extension at the federal level to spend that money. So that's a relief. But, we were working hard to make sure that gets out.
Yeah.
And that's in partnership with, Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, and NeighborWorks of Southern Colorado. So partnerships are so important. And then our team, a lot goes on behind the scenes that, our staff are really unsung heroes a lot of times. And so, they're ensuring that, a lot of the toy giveaways are successful. They go out and pick up donated toys from folks to get them to the right places. It's just amazing. It's an all hands on deck team.
Gotcha.
And everyone really steps up. So, we are really here to support our nonprofits. We have not been doing the direct giveaways for food baskets or toys, but we support our nonprofit partners who do. And so, we were proud to contribute to the Ray Aguilera's annual Christmas event. And, it's a great time of year where everyone's coming together. So we really are here to support all the great work that's going on in our community. We're also proud supporters of the Thanksgiving and Christmas meals that Everybody Counts Ministry does every year, and they do a great job. And so we are just really, really proud to be the supporting partners here.
That's awesome. Matt, can you talk to me a little bit about the experience you've had being a board member for United Way? How long have you been a board member for?
I've been a board member well over 10 years.
Nice.
They kicked me off for a little bit because my term had to end it, and then they kicked me off for a year, and then I came back in that whole thing. But it's been over 10 years. I think it's almost been since Snap opened, somewhere around there, 13 years-ish.
Wow.
But yeah, being on the board, again, I just can't brag enough about United Way and what they do, but it definitely, just like with the mentoring side of it, we do, Snap Fitness, we do our 4th of July 5K fun run. We've been doing that for 13 years straight. All that proceeds go back to United Way. That's been an amazing community event to bring the community together for sure. But the board, it's really, we talk about Pueblo and the needs in Pueblo, and you have the most passionate Pueblo people in a room that are like, how do we solve these problems? And with the money that we have. So it's an honor to just sit on that board in the room with those people for sure that are on that board. But they're all there to make a difference. And sometimes we have to make tough decisions to help where that need is. Because unfortunately, like we don't have unlimited funds. But we would love any more funds if anybody has any out there. Unlimited, we'll take them. But,
absolutely.
but for sure, that's the challenge. But the beautiful thing is that we get to see the outcomes and you get to see the success of everything that you do. And you hear these stories when they come in and tell us what this little, this $2 million that she put back into the system because of doing people's taxes, like that kind of stuff. It is so rewarding to help with Pueblo, and that's just one of the things. But a huge honor. I mean, just a big honor to see what they do, have some fun. It's a great board. They're all fun, but they all are there to make a difference in this community, however they can, using their own connections to say, hey, I might know somebody there, or hey, this person might have some money that can help with this, or just whatever it is. It's all very pro Pueblo. It's very how do we fix the problems and the biggest needs in our community at the time.
Gotcha. We're so lucky with our board because there's so much passion.
Oh, yeah.
They're very invested. They love Pueblo. They care about Pueblo. And there are tough decisions that have to be made. And
Absolutely.
They're very thoughtful about that. And so I feel so, so lucky that we have the board we do.
Amen. Amen.
There you go.
She's got the best. She recruits the best.
You guys are all the best over there. That's so cool. So let's bring it back full circle. So if I'm a Puebloan that's in need and I'm listening to this podcast, how would I get connected with United Way and what you guys are connected with?
Yeah. So we have been maintaining a resource list on our website. So again, pueblounitedway.org. And there's lots of different resources on there. Certainly folks can call us, 719-225-8580. We don't administer the direct assistance ourselves, but we can definitely, send you to the right place. We have incredible partners that are doing that. And so, please take a look at the website, look at the resource list, give us a call. We will do our best to get you to the right place.
Gotcha. And then on the other side, if I'm someone who is listening to this and is very, connects with the passion that you guys have and wants to help out either monetarily or volunteer-wise, how would I reach out?
Yeah, well, definitely give us a call or contact us. And we would love to have you engaged in whatever way it is, whether it's your time, talent, or treasure. We would love to, engage with you with United Way of Pueblo County, because that's the power of United Way, is that we have so many people, the collective good coming together. And no matter how much you contribute, every dollar really makes a difference and builds up to this really huge impact in our community.
That's awesome. Shanna, thank you so much for coming in.
Are you looking for mentors right now?
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys
kind of
getting gears up for the schools, depending on what happens with the school?
Yeah. So actually, Tanya has been, so technically that you might want to cut this part out, but I'll tell you, the application deadline passed.
Okay.
However, the right mentor, so we could say something like that.
No problem.
If you're interested in mentoring, fill out an application. Like, I don't want to discourage people. It's just sort of, the big push is a little bit over because she's doing trainings right now.
Yep.
And interviews.
They'll do that.
Makes sense.
So
cool. Sounds great. Awesome. Hey, Shanna, thank you so much for coming in. Do you have anything else you want to talk about that you've been working on, or?
I just want to say thank you for inviting me in and having this conversation. Sure. And, again, I'm so proud of the work that we've done this last year. And I think responsive is one of the words that keeps coming up. We've been trying to be responsive to the COVID pandemic and, other crises because those didn't stop just because of COVID. And, in August, one of the low-income apartment buildings, the Phoenix building, it burned and it displaced 12 families for quite a while. And so we were proud to pull the right partners together to make sure that those families were housed from August until mid-November, until their homes were able to, be fixed and refurbished and they could move back in. So, time and time again, I just look at the work that United Way has done, and not just in this year, but in all of our history. And we really do respond. And so we will continue to do that in the new year, whatever that looks like as we get into 2021. We will do our best to be responsive and support our community through it.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much, Shanna. I think Pueblo as a community is really blessed to have you and United Way here doing what you guys are doing. And we really appreciate you coming in.
Amen
Thank
to that.
you.
I couldn't agree more. Not only do you have the coolest mask I've seen, but you are one of the coolest people that I know. So I can't tell you. I mean, I will just, in my closing, is just Wake Up is so honored to be a part of some of this too. I think that this is just a snit of what's going to happen in 2021 with Wake Up and United Way, because, everything that we're trying to do, they are trying to do as well. So there will definitely be some major partnerships here in helping highlight all the amazing things. So stay tuned in 2021, watching Wake Up really highlight this amazing person, her amazing team, Bianca, everybody on that team. Just, I'm excited to showcase what they do with what we do. It's gonna be a good year.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And thank you so much for coming and being on this podcast. This has been the Pueblo Passion Podcast. Go check out some of the other episodes. We've done a few already. So we're going to have Monique Marez from the Pueblo Food Project. She was in here. We had Javier Quinones. He's a community leader. A few other people. Pedco is in here. Nick Donovan. We've had a lot of people already. We're excited for our future schedule. Hopefully we get some more awesome people here in Pueblo that are trying to do amazing things like Shanna. This is just, an honor every time I get someone in here to talk about that. And, it's just great to see all the great things you guys are doing.
I got to crash her podcast today, so sorry about that. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Matt.
Sorry,
and Matt.
She's like, Shanna's on. I'm like, I want to come.
I couldn't have asked for a better morning with you two.
Oh, this is great. Thanks for being here. So it's a good day. Today's going to be a good day.
Today's a good
Yes.
day. Awesome. Hey, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys so much for being in here. And go check out the rest of our Wake Up Pueblo podcast. Wake Up Pueblo on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that stuff, as well as check out United Way on all those platforms as well. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your